All right, everyone. I'm excited about today's podcast. I have on Allie, Becky, and Katie, and they are doing something really, really cool. This thing called Believe in Me. And we are going to talk about what we can do to help our daughters' self-esteem in this world that is influencing them so much. How can we be, I don't know if the word is like a bigger influence or like more of an influence. And I'm really excited to learn this because you guys all know that I have daughters and we
Mhm.
know that they're impressionable. I was actually just recently thinking about myself the other day and how I was so lucky in some of the situations that I was because I was a very impressionable kid. I was very, I feel like if I would have been in the wrong crowd or with the wrong people, my life could have easily gone a different way. And so like I was just like thinking the other day that like I was surrounded by good people and I'm like, how can I raise my daughters to be more confident in their no or in what they want for themselves and in the decisions that they're making and not want to give into peer pressure? And how can they do things differently than what the world is kind of doing now? So I'm so excited this is coming at like really good timing. Cause like I said, just this last week, I was like thinking about that. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you ladies. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
So excited to be here.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
I would love for you to start with first of all, how do you all know each other? And then how did you get into this?
Okay, we know each other because we're kind of all related. So Becky, this is Katie talking, but Becky is my cousin, and Allie married my cousin. And how we came to be together on this platform, and just what you were saying is in my mind, I'm just saying amen, amen, amen.
Yes, yes,
Like we
yes,
are all
yes.
so, that is why we do what we do. We're so passionate about building up these girls and helping them be themselves and grow their talents and gifts in a world that's kind of telling them you need to be like this to be happy. You need to look like this.
Right.
And this. So we are right there with you. But how we all got to where we're at is I started a company years ago. It's actually a different model. It's a franchise. It's called Singers Company. And it's all about strengthening confidence in younger girls. So elementary age girls. And it's a franchise model, and it's through singing and dancing, but it's all about strengthening their voice, letting their voice be heard. And what happened was that's been 11 or 12 years now. And all the parents of these young girls were asking me, when are you going to do a middle school program? These like, we love what you do. We love what Singers Company is, but these girls need support. And obviously, like you said, with all the statistics coming out, it's totally obvious 100% that these girls are at such a critical age between 10 and 13, where they're setting up kind of their life habits. And so I Believe in Me came from the requests of parents, just asking and trusting a brand that really did deliver on helping their young ones be confident. And so the mission is the same. The approach and the model is different. This is an online course in a community where we're just all about supporting these girls, teaching them how to do things. And it's so needed right now. So I dragged in Becky because she was a Singers Company director and she's phenomenal. And she's so good at habits in life, at routines, and how they steady you as a family, as an individual. And she's a coach for Tiny Habits, and she's amazing. So I approached Becky and she immediately jumped on. We do a lot of entertaining of these girls. Like, it's a fun time. And I Believe in Me. We laugh, we giggle. And Allie is all about the sunshine and the goodness. And so I approached Allie for her amazing personality of just a happy approach to life, no matter what happens. And so together, as we've created it, we brought our different talents and to really for the purpose of building up these girls.
Mm-hmm. And that's so cool that you've created a little community because I've found that that's kind of where it's hard is finding like-minded moms. I have a lot of friends and we're all very different. My husband always says that I have the most eclectic friend group ever. I lived in Vegas for 11 years and I really do like some of my best friends are polar opposite people of me. We have completely different walks of life. But I'm finding in parenting that it can be hard to feel like you're the only one making this decision. You're the only one believing in this thing. You're the only one wanting to go against the grain in this area. And that can feel tough without a community around you. And so it's really amazing that you have that within your family, and then have been able to expand that out to others. Because I know so many people listening are like, yeah, I would love to learn how to do this with my girls, but we're learning as our kids grow up, right? It's like, I don't know how to parent a 3-year-old. Like she's teaching me every single day. And when she gets I don't even, the tween, I can't even, my mind can't go that far. So
Don't worry, it's a long way off.
right. It is, but then it's also here. So I feel like we also need to have resources to know to turn to, that when those times are coming, when those things are happening, when, my daughter's 10 and on the soccer team, and she's the only one there who's not snapping selfies with her phone and coming home and being like, why, mom? And what's going on? And asking these questions, that I'm just like, well, you just can't have one. Like, being equipped to teach them, I think is so, so important. So I'd love to talk about what I brought up phones. We didn't say anything about phones yet, but that's part of the statistics, right, that are impacting our youth. So I'd love to maybe just talk about some of those things that are impacting. What is some of that research statistics, and how we are seeing such an increase in depression, anxiety, sadness, and especially young girls?
Well, there actually is just a super recent publication that just came out by Common Sense Media. I think it just came out this week, where they polled all of these tween and teenage age groups, and they showed something like the statistics are staggering. They're saying that during school, like 80% of these kids are on their phones.
Yeah.
And they're even saying, they even asked these kids from the hours of 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. And there's literally, like, I think it said like 65% of these kids are on their phones at this time of the night. It's just, there is just way too much time being devoted to screens. These kids have these handheld devices, and they don't know how to navigate them. They don't know how to self-regulate. It's dangerous. And so we've seen the CDC published back almost a year ago now, and it's still being talked about, where 60% of our girls are persistently sad, unhappy, suicidal thoughts, this depression episode coming in. And frankly, Elizabeth, among Allie and Katie and I mean, we've talked about this so much, and it's been on our minds. And we're like, okay, enough of talking about the statistics. We need to talk about now what? Now what do we do? Because we can all talk about it, and the news can report it, but then the news ends and the parents are left with no tools. There's nothing to be like, hey, this is what you can do immediately starting today. This is, so we're out there. We want to be a voice, to echo with yours, to have these parents know that it's okay to establish these rules, to establish healthy habits for your mental health, your social health. Like, there's so much that is at risk if we just leave it to chance, and if we just don't want to be, I guess it's hard. It's hard to be a good parent, but you can do it.
I feel like we have this company that's doing just that, and that's why we created it, but we're all moms first.
Right.
Like I have 6 kids, Becky has 7 kids, Allie has 4 kids. We have half girls, half boys, teenagers, adults, 4-year-olds, been there across the gamut of ages and genders, and we are there. And so we saw this kind of as moms, that mother intuition years ago, when phones just came out, social media came out. And I, in my mom mind, was like, all these kids are going to lose their sense of self. In fact, they're all coined the term phrase followers. I don't want my children to be followers. I want them to be leaders. I don't want them to think they have to look to someone to what to wear, what to say, what to pursue, how to act. Like, I want them to know who they are. And so that's exactly where we start. And I Believe in Me is the first episode is, who are you? And let's talk about who you are. Let's sit down, think about, what do you like? What do you not like? What are you good at? What do you wish you were good at? What are you not that good at? Who are you? Don't look at someone else. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at a screen. Really think about who you are. And because everyone is beautiful, everyone has something to offer. And if we were all the same, like social media kind of tells us to be, or follow someone else, it would be a very sad, which this is what's happening now. It's a sad world, and there's not much unique about you. In fact, you almost don't even know how to create as much. It stifles creation because you're just following. So anyway, we see that just like you mentioned, and they need the tools, and that's what we're trying to give them. And we can dive right into those tools if you want, but you lead us and we'll follow your lead in this discussion.
Yeah. Well, I saw on here, like habits and routines for happiness and success in the world. And I think that that's also something that we don't necessarily teach our kids, because one thing I'm noticing, again, just as I've become a mom, so I've made more mom friends, and you don't realize until you're in it, right? It's like so easy before I had kids to be like, oh, my kids will never do that. My kids will never eat this. And then now, like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, I don't care what, like, put on. Yeah, you can watch Disney all day today. Like, I don't care. Like,
you're in survival mode sometimes.
Right, for sure. I'm like, here's
and that's what we're,
there's Disney, and we're good.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. We are here for, like, to be a cheerleader, to be a backup for parents, to be a resource for moms and dads and grandmas and aunts and uncles and whoever is your guardian, whoever you're watching over, is to just know that we're here. And if we can help you build those tools and the routines to help you navigate parenting in a sense. And whether we start at 5 years old, 10 years old, or 15, it's easier if we start it early. And that's what we're trying to instill in these girls, is if you can, they're still at the age where they're going to listen to us and they kind of think we're cool still. Because if you wait too long, it's a little bit more challenging, right? With teenagers, because they know everything and they're always right. And so if we can show them that these tools, and if they learn them and practice them, that they will become so much better equipped when they get to high school, to college, to young adulthood, to parenthood, that if they have these things in place, life isn't always going to be easy. There's always going to be our ups and downs and the storms and all the things that come with just life. But we can get through those much happier. We're able to get out of bed. We won't fall into these moments of depression or anxiety as much as we maybe would if we didn't learn the tools. So when Katie asked me to be part of the company, I'm like, yes, I'm in. I'm all in. I remember being the middle school girl and not really knowing what to do, you know? And so it's funny, as an adult, as we've kind of built this company and built the course, I have those like mantras and those sayings and those things that go along in my head as a 40-year-old. I'm like, I need to do this. I need to do all my things. I need to do my routines out of the roots. I need to do all the things. And it helps me and my family, have that much better of a day-to-day life.
Yeah. Well, and you were saying before that, like, these kids don't know how to monitor their screen time, right? Adults don't know how to monitor their screen time.
No.
Right.
So how do we, because I have a hard time with that. I have like timer apps set on my phone because, and there's days where I spend way more time on my phone than I planned on. And I'll use the excuse of, well, I work a lot on my phone. I produce like content for Instagram about doula stuff, all these different things, but I also like get lost in it a lot versus just like blocking time of like, okay, you have an hour to create your content, to do this thing, blah, 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 blah.
And
right, totally.
Yeah.
And my husband always says, monkey see, monkey do. He's like, how do you like expect kids to not want a screen in front of their face all day long when all they see their parents doing all day long is scrolling and their phone in front of their face and then being like, mom, mom, mom. And you're like, yeah, not even really paying attention. And like, so we really do have to start modeling what we want for them. So I would love to talk about habits and routines for happiness and success in the world, and maybe like some of the things that you guys suggest that we can start for people listening who do have younger daughters, maybe that we can start now to help start implementing that will help them as they're growing.
Okay, so I will touch on that just briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Katie, because we even have a system that helps with self-regulation and monitoring that's magical, and I totally, we want to share it with you. But really quickly, with habits and routines, we believe that routines are the roots. The I Believe in Me program, it's all garden themed. And so a lot of the principles and the symbolism, it all comes from garden imagery because it's easy to imagine, it's easy to relate. It's a, you know, scientific principles about how a garden grows, you know, things that affect a living plant also can affect a living human being, right? And roots are our system. That's our routine that grounds us into that soil and keeps us steady. Whether something comes up in our life that, you know, the wind is blowing, the trees are swaying, but their roots are down deep, they're not going to fall over. Routines create confidence in a sense of, we all know, like after that child loves, you know, checking off that chore chart, if just simple routines in the morning, like making their bed and brushing their teeth, picking up their clothes, like those elementary things at a very early age starts giving them that sense of self. Like, oh, look at me. I am the kind of kid that made my bed. Mom's happy. I'm happy. And immediately this chemical reaction happens in their brain. They've studied it over and over. And when we have good feelings, the dopamine drops happen in our brain. So we teach these middle schoolers how to create those dopamine drops, how to create that self-confidence of feeling good about the tiniest little thing you did in your routine. You celebrate that. You're like, oh my gosh, I actually practiced my piano. I'm awesome, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got to create the narrative around those little things in our routine where we can feel good and accomplished and look at the, like how we feel now versus if we didn't practice our piano or if we didn't do something. And a routine doesn't have to be like complicated. It can, again, be very simple, but we do tell these girls, you have to think about it. Let's put some time in, write it down, put it on your mirror. And now these are your anchors. This is your day where if everything else falls apart, if you fail your math test, if mom is mad, if, you know, if something's happening, you go look at your routine, do your routine, get solid into your day, start your day off right. And there's a ripple effect that happens. Studies have shown if you can start your morning off in a great way with the feeling good in your heart, feeling accomplished, just the simple little things, then you do better throughout the day. You're going to get to school. These kids are going to get to school with a happy heart. They're going to, you know, if we can have a calm morning as a family in our home and everybody's doing their routines, everybody's, you know, creating their habits, then we just launch them off into the world prepared and not hurting already, because they're at a disadvantage. If they leave our home feeling sad, like we want home to feel like heaven on earth in a sense, like, right? It's not always going to be, but on a good day, we want them to feel safe at home, loved at home, accepted at home. And if we create these routines, it sets us up for a solid foundation of a home that grows and flourishes just like a flower, just like a garden. So there's individual routines, there's, you know, family routines, and then those become your anchors where, let's say, you know, your daughter wants to make the soccer team, then instead of just saying, I want to make the soccer team, let's deconstruct it. Okay, well, we've got to probably practice every day. Where can we fit that into your routine? It's in their after school routine. After you get a glass of water, let's go out for 10 minutes and practice with the ball. So it helps them realize that into adulthood, a routine, like morning routine, afternoon, nighttime, that is going to be how you grow and achieve your success as an individual.
And then you find, to piggyback on that and bring it back to the phones, when you have your routines in place and you're working on those things in life, like the things you want to pursue, the things that make you, whether it's soccer, whether it's dance, whether it's, you know, art, and you've helped your child give them the opportunities, and those little opportunities are built into their routine, and that's becoming them. There really isn't going to be a lot of time for those screens because they're pursuing the things that are really going to stick with them and develop themselves in the rest of the life. And as far as routines go, you can limit and say, okay, I do want to scroll my phone and I am at the age where I'm allowed to, you know, so let's build it into our routine. I want to come home from school. I want to decompress from school for a minute before I start my homework. Okay, there's 5 minutes right there. I'll set a timer. That's my screen time, because I don't want to do more than, or maybe it's 15 minutes, but if I do more than that, it starts to wear on my heart. I felt that. And so what Becky was kind of mentioned earlier is with these phones, with these routines, the purpose is to build a beautiful garden of life. And we talk to these girls, but really, as we're talking to moms today, it's your family garden too. You can like bump it up as your family garden. So you think as a mom, okay, yeah, when everyone knows what they're supposed to do and has their routines in place and they're pursuing their own little activities to build who they are, that's a garden coming to life. That's a garden growing. But there are weeds that can come. And as a mom, we have to, like you said, we have to self-regulate and be the example, or else those weeds of using too much screen time and those weeds of comparison that come from social media are going to crowd the good things in our routine and the good things we're pursuing. And we have to be careful about that. So we teach these girls who you are. First of all, you are a girl with gifts to grow and share. And there are two things that guide your life, your mind and your heart. And we say that together, that's your soil in your garden. It has to be rich, full of nutrients to grow plants. You can't grow flowers, you can't grow plants in rocks. It's checking in with your mind and your heart. And there's two questions you ask as an individual girl or a mom with your family. Does this make sense for me and my age? Does this make sense for our family, this movie that we're watching? Number two, like, is it appropriate? Number two, how's my heart feeling? If I'm sitting there watching a movie with my kids, you know what I mean? And there's been, we do 3 strikes, you're out, but like, it's like, you know, foul language or something that just doesn't sit right, a subject matter. I know as a mom, I got to turn that off. Same thing with the child on their phones, you know, teaching them their tools. Like if your heart starts to feel funny, or you know that app is not built for your age, like you have to self-regulate and be strong enough to stand alone if it's with a friend or by yourself on a screen to be like, nope, not letting this in my garden because I know what that will do if I let it in. It's going to crowd the other things that I want to grow that are me, that make me me. And that is built into my little routine. So it kind of all ties together. But we believe in these girls and these moms so much that they have the power. They decide what comes into their family and what influences are there. And I applaud parents that just, you know, they just hold off on the social media for their kids. There's not a lot of good that comes from it. There's a lot of comparing and self-doubt. And that's what the studies show. So like with TikTok, like you said, let's listen to the studies and take that to heart as parents and do something about it. Give them the tools they need to be strong and stand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think too, I mean, even for me, so, I mean, I have Facebook and Instagram. That's it. Because of the work like I do on Instagram, I get overwhelmed myself on there. I'm like, I can't even imagine downloading another app for myself to try to produce content onto. And I know that, you know, I'm in this like community with other doulas. A lot of them love it and they get a lot of great information out there. And I'm like, for my like mental space, I can't do Twitter. I can't do TikTok. I can't do anything else. You know, and I've also read some scary things about TikTok too. So I just, you know, I just don't need another app. But there's a couple things that you guys said that came up for me when you were saying that. Even like the soccer, okay, let's go outside and practice for 10 minutes. Let's set this timer for your phone. Helping our kids requires us to work as parents. And I think that that's where it's really hard because it's so easy to be like, well, I need to prep dinner. I need to get stuff done. I need to whatever. So here's your phone, here's a movie, here's whatever. And we're not actually like active participants being present in our kids' lives, because you having to go out, having to go outside with your kid for 10 minutes means that you're present with them. Like you're not on your phone doing other things, trying to kick the ball back and forth. And there's so much research that has also come out about being present with your children and how it's crazy that like, what was it? Like most parents get like maybe 30 minutes, like face to face with their kids a day. And that's like kids my age, of actually being present, sitting down with them, playing with them. They're home with them and still not being one-on-one present with them. So protecting our kids, setting up these boundaries, helping our daughters self-regulate also requires us to show up as parents. And I think that that's also where a lot of parents are like, this is hard.
It's very hard.
Yes. Yes, sorry, but can I just say this, I agree with you. Everything you said, I feel it so deeply. But this is what I tell myself, Elizabeth. I can pay now or I can pay later.
Yeah.
And the cost later will be so much greater. Like, so it's just so much more important now to lay the foundations and lay that time, like spend the time with your kids, because the connection that you create will actually, it compounds for later. Like the blessings come later on, and it is worth the sacrifice now. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but everything's hard. So you have to choose your hard, right?
Yep.
It's either hard to play on the floor for 30 minutes dolls. It's totally boring with your daughter, or in 5 years, it's going to be hard to have a daughter who feels like her mom never spent time with her. So choose your hard.
Yeah, that's good.
And we're the example. We are, like we've said, we are the ones to lay the tone for our house. And if we can, as moms, if we can see the value, that's where it starts. We've got to see the value. We've got to see the bigger picture. Like, okay, spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes playing dolls, even though I have a million things to do, I've got 20 loads of laundry to finish folding. That is more important. That can wait, not forever, but it can wait for now, and we have to see the vision. And if we can get moms to just like get a glimpse into how much that will mean to a child, and give that child confidence in knowing that they have a parent that loves them and enjoys their time, that connection, that relationship is going to grow and flourish so much more. And we really are the ones that will set the tone.
Yes. I think it's really hard. I struggle with this every single day because I have a lot on my plate. And like Becky said, I have to build it into my routine is what I have to do.
Right.
And what I noticed, I was just thinking about my day yesterday and even this morning. And I have a 4-year-old, and I'm going on a podcast today, and she has her activities, and I don't want to have her to have to do screens all the time, for sure. But she likes what I'm doing. And sometimes I can double dip, where it's like, we made pizza last night, and I was like, Lala, come on over, bring your chair over. Like, help me make pizza, help me make dinner. She loved it. You know what I mean? And that was like our 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes. And she's stuck with it. Sometimes she doesn't like to, and I don't make her, but sometimes she really takes to it, and she likes to sprinkle the cheese. And then it happened with laundry today. I had to get one, went to my next thing. And I was like, Lala, can you come help me fold the little things? Because her hands are little. She was so good. I'm like, yes, I have another good one that can, because not all my kids will fold well. And so I was able to be like, Lala, look what you just did. You folded all your little onions and all my washcloths for my face. So good. Look at the corners are all. And she loved it. She had such a, like, the little self-worth that like lit up her face. But yeah, I was still getting things done, and things I may have had to refold, but not really. Actually, I didn't even care. I was like,
Right.
great. Yeah. So I just feel like maybe a creative approach sometimes is they actually can do things with you.
Right.
And at a really young age, they actually like it,
Well, and what a win that is, because you're keeping your routine, because you know what your routine is, and you're teaching by example to your children. At I Believe in Me, we love hard work. We don't shy away. We try to help tweens realize that you will never regret working hard. You'll never regret putting the big rocks in your day first, and then fill in the little rocks. We teach them those big rocks are the mandatory things. Those are the principles. Like, those are your studies. That's family dinner. That's getting your chores done. That's your practice. Get the big rocks in first. It always feels good. And watch, like, trust us. Just go try it, you guys. And they've always come back and been like, that actually works. The big rocks first works. And then the little rocks can come later. Don't be afraid to work hard in your garden. Even as a mom, the hard work pays off. And if you're worried about something, we have our mantra that says, turn your worry into work. Go work at something. Go work hard at something instead of just worrying about it.
You're worried about that test? Get that homework out. Go over the problems that you didn't get right, or it took more time for you. Like, turn that worry into work. And in the end, you'll see what happens. You grow.
Yeah. I mean, all these tips that you're giving for girls and tweens, I feel like I need to do this. You know,
No,
like
I
I need to go to
I like repeat them in my mind all the time. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't have time to worry about that.
We have moms message in all the time that they sit next to their daughter because they're like, wait, I got to hear what they're going to say next. Because wait. But you know what? As a family, it helps if we all do it together. You're going to grow that much, stronger.
Yeah, I do find enrolling my 3-year-old in tasks that I do. She loves it. And I get to spend time with her. What's more challenging now is the 19-month-old who's like making everything a disaster while you're trying to like do something.
Undoing all you're trying to do.
Yeah, because like my
all the
daughter's
Tupperware all over the floor.
Oh my gosh, yeah, which I don't even care about that. I'm like, get all the Tupperware out. That is completely fine. It's like more when we're putting laundry away and she's pulling everything out.
Undoing,
and I'm like,
Oh.
but my 3-year-old now, because we have like a lower rod in her closet, so I'll put her dresses like on a hanger for her, but she'll hang them all up, and she loves just like small tasks, yesterday she was helping me wash the fruit and that we got at the store and things like that. But yeah, the 19-month-old, I feel like kind of threw a wrench in it, because then she wants to do everything the sister does. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is this is going to be a disaster. Or like, it's like hard to get her to do something else while the 3-year-old's helping me, But I do find that like so valuable, because she also does get that sense of purpose too. Like
it's confidence. It's that
right,
confidence.
totally. Yeah. And building that young is so important. I loved what you said earlier about like, what are your talents to share, and tapping into that side. And I think that that's also where social media has really done us a disservice, because people are like, oh, share with who? I'm doing this so I can post it online. I'm sharing my talent so I can post so other people can like it. There's just that outward need for validation. And I love that you guys are nurturing that in a different way, that it's not something that it's like, what are your talents you can share with your community, with your friends, with, your athletic group that you're a part of, or whatever it is, instead of like, oh, let me see if I can do this thing and post it to show everyone how cool I am.
These girls, we're not telling them to grow their talents to show them.
Yeah.
Show their talents. They're growing their talents to share them and serve with them. So like, I use the example a lot, but my 15-year-old is just so cute with kids. She's had a few younger siblings, and she's amazing, and she can run my house like herself. She's so great and so valuable as a mom. I love her so much. I love them all, but she's very helpful at this age.
Can I borrow her when you're done? I borrow her.
Me too.
Like, she has such a gift of little kids connecting with her, and we'll sit in church. She comes to church and she has her little group that finds her.
So cute.
3 little girls that sit around her, and she has like little babysitting. Like, so parents reach out to her for babysitting, and her working at that talent creates income. But it creates that sense she loves kids, and she always comes up, I can't see why people wouldn't want kids. It's so cute. But that her sharing what she is growing, like intentionally growing, she'll put her little name out there for babysitting, and people ask her, and that just keeps building on itself. And she's like a little businesswoman, and she's, but yet she has a talent for kids, and now she has a talent for business and managing her money, and it just keeps growing and sharing. And these parents love her because they come home and their house is clean and their kids are happy, and they ask for her all the time. And then she sees them in the public scene, like it's at, like at a grocery store, and they come running to her, and that makes her feel so good. So it's in the sharing for the point of service that these talents, I think, grow, and the confidence grows. And like you said, it's not in the showing online and waiting for people to praise you. Like, that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because it feels good to grow your talents and work at something. Hard work, and seeing the result of that hard work, reaping what you sow, like in a garden sense, that's where the value and confidence comes. And they don't need, like, who cares what people think? Who cares what they say? You're not doing it for them. Don't put your happiness in their hands, whether they like you or not and like your post. No, your happiness comes from within. You're growing your own, girl. So
Right. Yeah, totally. I remember, I think I was probably talking to my husband, but like just even teaching your kids like how to, in the face of hardships, like I said, I feel like growing up, I felt like I was very confident, and I don't know at what age that stopped. I want to say probably around age 8. I used to do like speech competitions, and I had no fear getting up in front of people, and just did a bunch of things like that. And then I don't know when it switched and when I really cared what people thought. And I had a hard time. Like I said, I was very like easily, I feel like, what's the word I'm looking for?
you mentioned before.
Yeah. And back then I only had like 17 magazine, right? I wasn't like
Right.
Instagram. So
Right.
I can't imagine me in my teens with what teens have today at all. But I feel like I didn't ever really know how to deal with conflict well. And that's something that's carried into my adulthood. I feel like the last few years, I've worked on it a lot. And a lot of it is my perception that it is conflict, even when it's not. Like it's me building up this situation in my mind that hasn't even happened yet. And I'm like, this person's going to hate me because I have to tell them this thing. And then the conversations always go fine. It's like I build up this thing, but young girls, I feel like, aren't necessarily given those tools of how to deal with hardships. How do you deal with disappointment, with hard emotions through failures as a kid? And I'd love for you to kind of talk about how your program helps these tweens and young women through those.
We have something called, so we call the hardships in life in a garden, we call it worms. And so we talk about how everybody has worms, right? And we laugh that way. But what a worm is so when I'm digging in my garden, I do love to garden. And when I'm digging in it, good soil has worms. It has those earthworms. And it, at first, when you see one, you're like, oh, like it takes your breath away. And it's something you didn't expect. So that like in life, when things are thrown at you that you didn't expect, that you didn't ask for, maybe you have to move, maybe there's an illness in the family, maybe there's a death in the family, a divorce, a friend, like your friend group is really being like hard for you right now. Those difficult things happen, those worms appear, and you have a choice what you do with that worm and the hole that it leaves in your soil. Like it, you feel like a hole, and whether you choose to fill it with light or whether you choose to fill it with darkness. And obviously, I believe in me, your garden needs light and sunlight. And so what is the light? What does that mean to fill it with light? And as silly and weird as it might sound, even for a family, for an individual, when those hard worms appear and those hardships come, it's going back to routines or the roots. It's keeping things moving. So you have a hard, let's say, a tween goes to school and her friend groups, someone said something multiple times to her, like that just hurt her feelings, and they're just not being kind, and she's dealing with this, and it's really getting into her feelings every day, and it's getting into her studies because she can't concentrate as much in certain classes because some of these girls are in those classes. So you can see how these worms can become bigger issues, and they just feel swallowed up, and you can let that dark if you let those things settle. So filling it with light is staying your course, staying with your routines, knowing that school is your full-time job. And if it's distracting enough, well, okay, we dig deeper in that little section of that worm. So, okay, this section for this girl is friendship. That's the worm in her life right now. Okay, what are the tools around dealing with those girls? We have something I mentioned earlier, 3 strikes, you're out. If you're around the same group of girls and the same girl or the same situation comes up where you are put down, where you leave going, wait, what? Like you just feel it, or what they're talking about is inappropriate. It makes you feel icky, your mind and your heart, your soil's off. If there's 3 strikes, you're out in a short period of time, like a week and a half, couple weeks, you have the power. You don't have to hang out with those people. You need to be strong enough to be like, I need to take a break. I'm going to be nice to them. I'm not going to be rude. I don't need to talk about them with anyone else. I just have made a mental soil check where I'm like, yeah, I need a break. And what does a break look like? A break looks like going and finding someone else to sit by at lunch. A break may look like, I don't have someone to sit by at lunch right now, but I really need to get away. Go do your homework in the library. like that's a break in a conversation is I got to go to the bathroom or grab something out of my locker. Get out of there, or give that person a compliment. Someone saying something, oh my gosh, I really like your hair today. That can 180 a conversation so fast. So in that, you identify where the worm is, right? As it comes unexpectedly, and you hone in on that. And we have tools. I mean, and we can do that as adult women. We get into catty conversations and friendships and things happen. Those same rules apply. Give that person a compliment. Take a break. It might be easier for us to take a break because we're not in class with that person all the time. But, but still smile and wave, but go on with your routine. Go on with your day. That person does not affect your happiness. And so that's one difficult situation that these girls or women as women in friendship groups that we can face. But there's obviously so many other difficulties that can come our way, but we call them the worms. And we know what to do. You go back to routines are the roots, stay your course, wake up every morning, get that bed made, check your homework for the day, check your tasks as a family for the day. What does your family day look like? What are you going to make for dinner? And if you literally keep moving, those worms and hardships are still there, but man, are you stronger. And you can look back and go, you know what? My soil is richer and stronger because of those worms aerating it, because of those hardships. I'm a stronger person, and I'm actually grateful. I'm grateful for that hardship because now I know how to deal with it, and I grew, and now I can share what I've learned with my own kids, with, a friend who's going through something similar. You can share that hardship and how to get through it because you've experienced it and your soil's stronger because of it. So it's kind of all cyclical, but difficulties and worms, we all have them, but they can make us strong.
Yeah. I always find it super interesting with the phone thing that we all grew up being taught, don't give into peer pressure, don't give into peer pressure, don't give into peer pressure. And now we're all parents and we're giving into peer pressure of getting our kids the only one without a phone. And so we're giving in. And it's interesting, that we grew up being told these things, but now we're like, oh, well, we don't want our kid to feel left out. We don't want them to be the only one who didn't get to do this or that or whatever. And how, again, we kind of set the tone for that and modeling and helping our kids through conflict. And I'd love to kind of just talk about negative self-talk really quick, because I feel like a lot of that comes in with the social media when you're comparing. It doesn't have to just be through social media. I mean, I didn't have it in my day, and I struggled a lot. For people listening to the podcast, I've shared several times on here, talked openly about, I got an eating disorder at 13 years old, had it for 13 years, and really, really struggled again with that confidence, with my body image, with so many things. And I didn't have Instagram. That's why I'm like, I can't even picture like my life if these things were around. But that's what's feeding in to our kids, is those things that we're putting out there. Even how we talk about ourselves, right? Like, I'm very, very cautious about how I talk about myself, and even people around me. If somebody around me, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so fat, I need to go on a diet, I'm like, don't talk like that in front of my daughter, like, because she doesn't need to hear that. So we're very cautious about because I grew up watching people yo-yo diet and always talking negatively about themselves. And our kids pick up on that, right? And if they're not getting it from us,
100%.
It's from social media, it's from friends, but comparison is the thief of joy. And I know that feeds so much into like negative self-talk. But I also know that when I was in it, I felt so alone, and that nobody understood what I was going through. Nobody understood where I was at. So I'd love to talk about like how we can talk to our daughters when they're having negative self-talk to themselves, and get them maybe to see the other side or out of that place, or even to recognize like that they're going through something, because my disease was hidden for years. So like how maybe as parents we can recognize when we see certain patterns and then help them through that.
I think I would add to that is, as parents, and especially as women and as moms, we set the example and we have the power. So when my girls are in, or even my boys, and I'm getting dressed or trying on outfits or whatever, if they are so in tune with body language and our audible language that we're saying to ourselves, like, oh, this is doesn't make me look cute, or this is, or I feel ugly, or I feel da da da. They are cluing into those, whether they're right by your side or down the hallway. They can hear the things, or when you're talking on the phone to friends or family members, or I just need to lose 5 pounds, or whatever the conversation might be, they are cluing in. So again, we are the example. We need to set the tone for how our children see themselves. And I have a 7-year-old little girl, and she is spunky beyond anything I've ever experienced before. And she's gonna be one of these emotionally when she gets to about 13. And I already can see that in her, because she'll be like, well, I can't wear this because one of her like best little buddy, June says I can't, da da da, or this doesn't look cute because Isla has whatever. And she's already doing the comparison game. And so many times I will repeat, which we teach the girls, and I believe in me, is who cares what they think?
Right.
Who cares what they think? Whatever you like and love about yourself, whether it's what you're wearing or your hair or your color backpack you have, like, you have the power to form positive thoughts around yourself. And it starts again in the home, and teaching these girls, it's okay. You can have a pink floral backpack while she has a rainbow one. It's all okay. We all get to like different things. And that's the tone that I use with this specific daughter all the time, because she is already into that comparison game with her cute little friends, who none of them mean any harm. They really don't. At least I hope they don't. But they just don't know. And so I'm trying to teach her how to self-regulate, and like, no, I can wear a purple shirt and she can wear a pink shirt, and that's okay. And everybody likes different things. And so to teach that young, at a young age, and then to model that as parents, like, it's okay that we don't have what they have, or it's okay that you don't look like your best friend. It's okay. Everybody is so beautiful because we are so different. And those negative self-talk sometimes that floods into my 7-year-old. And it's always about her hair. She has this thing with her not liking her hair. And I'm like, your hair is beautiful just the way it is. It doesn't need to be like anybody else. And then I teach her all of the great things that she can do with her straight hair that her best friend can do with her curly hair, And so just to bring out the positive things, and to be so grateful for, we can put your hair in 2 pigtails because it's so long, just little things like that. And then to recognize that as moms, that we have our own gifts and talents, and we're all different, because we're supposed to bless the lives of those around us with those special talents. And when that negative self-talk comes in, you replace it with something you love. Even if you have to fake it, you fake it until you make it. And you're like, you know what? I might not like the shape of my thighs, but boy, can I run fast. But boy, can I do this at the gym. I can do all of these things, and they're not going to look like Susie's, who, is 5'10" and she's tall and lengthy. I'm 5'1" and short and stocky, but I can do so many great things. And so we just have to switch it. We've got to switch it in our minds to know that we're not supposed to be the same. And we all have so many beautiful things about ourselves. And that's how it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to be different, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So really quickly, Elizabeth, we teach to these middle school girls, we teach Dr. Amen's principles about automatic negative thoughts. And in one of his books, he's a neuroscientist. He's amazing. I'm sure you probably have heard of him.
Yes.
So he tells a story about ants in his kitchen, and he was, working with a client that day who was struggling with negative self-talk, and he realized, automatic negative thoughts, these ants crawl into our brain because they're automatic. It happens. Mm-hmm. So I think helping maybe ourselves as moms, and helping our daughters and our sons realize that these automatic negative thoughts are going to come. You're not a bad person. you know, those voices are going to say things in your head, but you don't have to believe them. You
Right.
don't have to, it's a lie, right? So like Allie said, you can come back at it with gratitude. One of Dr. Amen says, you know, the complaining aunt or the comparing aunt or the blaming, there's all these little things that happen automatically just because we're human. That's our brain does that. But guess what? We can choose if we want to focus on that thought or if we want to replace it. So we try so hard. We have it in so many of our episodes to try to help these girls replace these negative thoughts. Because they're going to come doesn't mean they have to stay. Those ants, you can wash them away. We like to use the visualization of water. Bring that watering can, water that brain, flush out those ants, and let's replace it. You can't just get rid of them. You have to replace. You have to replace it with some, and that's why we have a whole episode on affirmations and mantras. We think even as moms, put something on your mirror that's going to trigger a positive thought, because now you're creating a new neural pathway in your brain that says, I'm awesome, or I like me, I am enough. You know, whatever it might be, it's individual, but we need to put these things up where we see them. If we're not automatically, you know, if that doesn't come to us very easily to replace those negative thoughts, believe me, I've got them all over my fridge, in my car, on my mirror, by my toilet. I love putting things for my kids. Seriously, you guys, biggest mom tip ever. Put positive sayings right by the toilet paper dispenser, because guess what? They're sitting there anyways. And hopefully they don't have their phone in the bathroom, right? That's a rule at my house. There's no phones in the bathroom, but they can read some really cool quotes and think about it, right? So I think we have to validate the concerns and these thoughts and the negativity that's out there, but help ourselves and our girls learn how to navigate through them by replacing them. Get rid of those ants, bring in some gratitude, go serve someone on your street, go do something kind for somebody else. There's so many ways to handle that negativity, but it's okay if it's there. It's normal.
Yeah. I think a lot of that you see also, you know, parents, I guess, in their 30s and 40s, reparenting themselves, because these weren't necessarily tools that we were given. So I know for myself, when I'm like going to blame,
right,
which I do, I'm like, I don't want to take responsibility. It's a deeper trigger within me that usually goes to, I'm not enough, that came from a long time ago, that I believed a long time ago. And yeah, replacing that and like speaking truth into your life is so, so important. That song always comes up for me. It's like such a good song, that Speak Life by Toby Mac.
Yes.
It's such a good song. It's like also just like a feel good song. Because I do think about that a lot, like that just, we have the power to speak life into people.
Yes.
And that I think is just so, so important, and also scary as a parent sometimes, because we're so imperfect. And there's days where obviously I've yelled at my kids before, and then I'm like, okay, like, how do I speak life into my children? Because I want to raise a home where they feel that they belong, that they feel that they have confidence. You know, part of them, like at this age too, is learning their confidence, and that's why they talk back sometimes.
Yep.
You know, like we're creating this safe space for them, and I'm like, oh, like, you know, but I mean, it is really, really tough. So I do feel like this parenting journey is just ever evolving, and that's why I love talking to people who have kids of different ages and who have tips and advice on how to keep this going, because I feel like my husband, like just the other day, he was like, sometimes I feel like I don't even know you. We got married 5 years ago. We're about to have our third kid. Like, this has happened so quickly for us.
Wow.
And we have like an amazing marriage. We love each other so much. And I think we parent very, very well together. But you know how you have those times where you're like, who even are you? You're pretty much a stranger and you're just having my babies. Like, what is happening?
I know. We call it like the high five marriage, where it's like we're just high fiving in the hall as we all go to our separate ways. And
we're like, hey,
a little bit more than
yeah, but you know, I mean, and it is just like crazy, because we're like, I don't even know you. We're doing this together. We're figuring it out as we go. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, we have a 3-year-old. We don't even know how to parent 3-year-olds. Like, we are literally day by day being like, what's happening? Like, how do I respond to this? What's coming up for me? Like, there's so much of the reparenting too, that I'm hopefully learning a lot more now. So as my girls grow, I can like be the mom that they need me to be. I feel like I am, but I had to learn how to self-regulate while I was teaching my 3-year-old to self-regulate her emotions, because I realized I didn't know how to regulate my own. And I didn't know that until I had kids, until I'm like, wow, I've never felt like I've been this triggered in my life. Like, how is a 2-year-old making me want to act like a 2-year-old? Like, how is this a thing? So that's like, yeah. So it's like, I'm learning how to parent a 3-year-old, but also like seeking advice on how to parent a 13-year-old, because like I said, we're going to be there. So I need to start putting in the work now, which I'm learning from you guys too, like setting up those patterns, those habits, routines.
Yes. So I was just going to say, Elizabeth, you have to put it into your routine. Like, seriously, every morning, grab a book that's been, recommended and praised. Like, you have the power to work in your garden to figure out, I know, because you love your 3-year-old. That's the most important thing, right? And you can learn the other skills, but you intentionally have to put forth like a plan, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing it. I mean, just by creating this podcast and, talking to other people and gathering information and then finding out what's going to work for your household, your garden. And for me, like parenting, my oldest is 25. I have 7 children. I've been parenting for the last 25 years, and it definitely is the hardest job. It exposes all your weaknesses. But my morning time where I'm just with myself and with things that replenish my soul, and I have a notepad, and that's when I am nurturing myself. So as a mom, you have to nurture your own garden too, and you have to be intentional about it. Have your routine, set in time for you, set in time to learn how to parent, set in time with your husband. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard, but it's doable. It's doable.
And it's the greatest thing worth your greatest effort. As we've been talking with you, you just see like how much love, like the greatest thing that we can pursue is the greatest challenge as well. Like family life and the dynamics of all the different little personalities coming to us and helping them grow. I think you've mentioned a few times in this conversation about being a parent and standing alone while other families are making choices that are different than what you want. And I think that tells you right there, like, parents need to be absolutely intentional with what they want for their child and their family. And as a parent, it takes looking in the mirror and being like, well, what do I want for my own life? How do I want our household? How do we speak to each other in our household? What's okay and what's not okay? What do I want? Do we want a lot of yelling? Do we want a lot of chaos? No. Okay, if I don't want that, I have to make changes in my routine to create stability and calm in the morning. I have to, like Becky said, I have to get up way before my kids in order to get breakfast going and have it be calm when they come home and come down the stairs. And, and so like we all have our role. And as mom, we like Allie said, we set the tone. We are kind of the master orchestra director where we're orchestrating a lot of people. And if we're frazzled and we don't know where the music is and we don't know how to read music and we don't it's going to be a mess. It's going to sound all jumbled, but we just try and reset every day. It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we have to be intentional. Just progress. I think be bold as a parent. Who cares what my kids know, I think we're one of the only families in our area that has a curfew for our kids. And we can't figure out why other people don't have curfews, that they can just stay out forever. I don't even get it. Or you look at what kids wear and you're like, how is a father letting her daughter leave the house? My husband's floored. He's like, I cannot believe a dad let his daughter leave the house like that. But again, it doesn't matter what those people are doing. What matters is what we want for our kids and our home, and to be strong enough to be like, I don't care what that family is doing. I don't care what anyone's, and my kids know. That's like nails, like fingernails on a chalkboard to me when they start saying, well, so-and-so can da-da-da-da-da, or so-and-so's curve. They don't have that. I'm like, la, 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 la. Just know when you say that, kiddos, teenagers, that makes your mother dig in my heels so much deeper. Like that is like the worst thing you could say, because I don't care.
Right.
I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I don't care what they say about our family. I don't care. I don't care. And I know that's hard, and it's hard, but guess what? I know I can see far ahead as a mom. I know what's coming. I know what's here with social media. I know what's coming at you every day. I see it too. And that's challenging for me. Like, I don't totally know where you're coming from because I'm not you at school, at high school, but I know that wearing that, it's not going to get you where you're going to go. Like, and I know if if you're coming in past a certain time, nothing happens good after that certain time at night. Hanging out isn't great after midnight. Sorry. Like bad stuff happens. Like I know that as an adult. So be strong.
That's called confidence. Have confidence in your parenting, just like confidence in these middle schoolers, confidence in our teens to choose what's right for them. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. You create your own culture in your home, your own thriving garden. You create your own growth as a human. And it just comes down to what's best for you, and have the confidence in that to know that that's enough. You're an amazing human being, and you intuitively know like what gifts you have. Focus on those and grab a hold of them and be confident and bold in who you are in everything you do.
Right. And then those decisions become easier. It's like once you make the curfew time, or the what you're wearing, or whatever you've got, whatever decision you're making for yourself and for your family, that decision that's made over and over and over again about no social media, it gets easier. It gets easier. And then it doesn't become such, a hassle. By your third kid, she's gonna know. I'm just predicting it's a girl, because we're gonna by that third one, she's gonna know that she's not gonna get a phone till X amount of years, because that's just how the family does it. And that's great. Yeah, everyone's prepared for it.
Yeah. Again, like you're just like modeling that. You want your kid to be like, why do you care what this person thinks? And then we have to have the attitude too.
Why do we care what that family is doing that's different than us? We don't care, because the principle. And I always talk about how teaching your kids the why behind it. Like, why do we have this rule?
Right.
Why? Like, and if they're just a rule just to have a rule, you're going to have tons of rebellion. But if they understand why we don't want you to wear that certain thing, and why, what can that lead to? What door will that open up with a boy? If you're a girl and you're wearing a certain thing, what are you saying you can touch? Anything he can see, so it's like in any area, like why would we want you at home at this time? Well, because there's more apt to be drunk drivers out. Nothing, if you don't have purpose, if you're not doing something, it's
leads to trouble.
Idle, lazy. It leads to trouble, especially if you're with, if my 17-year-old son is with a girl, nothing good happens after that time. So why do we have the rules we have? It's what's the final outcome, or not even a final outcome, but what type of person do we want to be? That's going to distract us if we don't keep that rule. We're going to let all those distractions in, and that will determine who we are. We don't want that. We determine who we are. And so tough rules and tough parenting require that.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like you said, like as they get older, the thing that I always go back to when it comes to certain things that maybe I don't see eye to eye with on some people, is just that it is my job to protect my children. And that means that I'm
children.
Right.
And nobody else will. Nobody will but you.
Right. And then we're the ones, like it's our job to protect them. And so we are doing what we think is going to do that. And other people don't have to agree with it. So again, we're in the very early stages. We're not there yet, but I know my husband is very not a pushover at all when it comes to like that kind of stuff. I feel like he's more strict than I am with certain things, but he's also like the most gentle, loving guy with the girls.
You guys are
know?
gonna rock the teen years. I already know it.
Yeah.
I
know.
You're like years prepping in advance. That's more than I did. That's
Well,
way
I
more
think
than I did.
It takes
Yeah.
a level of humility, and you keep saying over and over, like, we've never had a 3-year-old before. We don't have never parented a 4-year-old. So to have humility as a parent and realize I don't have all the answers, but I want to figure out what those answers are for my family. That's step one. I think it's people that think I know everything. Don't talk to me, whatever. They're going to struggle the most, and their kids will struggle the most. I think it takes a parent wanting, the people that listen to your podcast are parents that want good things, moms that want good things for their, wants to find out those little nuggets and seeds that they want to plant in their family that resonate with them, with their mind and their heart. And like Becky said, you find those things and you plant them deep and you be consistent, because that's who you are and that's who your family is.
Mm-hmm. I think consistency is huge.
And it sounds overwhelming, right? Just like for these middle schoolers, it's overwhelming. Middle school is hard, but one day at a time, one step at a time. You can do it. You can do one day at a time. You can do maybe sometimes it's 1 hour at a time, if you're being, and that's okay. Just to know that you can do it. You got this. Look at you. So having that confidence and trusting yourself too, to be like, you know what? I don't have to do this all perfect right now. Just progress. One step at a time. Climb that mountain a little bit as you go.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I would love for you guys just to share a little bit more about what you offer, how people can connect with you, where they can take your course that you have and dive a little bit deeper.
Sure. The easiest way is to go to bloomfully.com, like a flower or a person blooming fully. So bloomfully.com, and you'll see Singers Company for elementary age, but today we focused on I Believe in Me, which is for the 10 to 13-year-old girls, and any moms that want to take it too, because it's very helpful, but it's geared for them. And that's the easiest way to find us. We're also on Instagram at I Believe in Me Girls, and that shares a lot of what things look like and the messages that your daughters would be hearing. But we believe in these girls, we believe in these moms, and these girls become moms. So this world needs them, and it needs them to be strong.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like I said, I feel like again, moms would just be like learning right alongside with you.
They do, which is good. It's good.
Yeah. And you guys also offer, it's so much more than just like life lessons. I was saying too, that, I mean, it's also, you even give tips on how to take care of your skin or just things to do as you're growing up.
We definitely want to be a resource that's age appropriate for this age, because the girls are looking, they are middle schoolers. They want to know how to do makeup, and we don't really want them going to TikTok or Instagram. You know what I'm saying? It's just not age appropriate. So I Believe in Me is a safe platform. We do talk about makeup, personal hygiene. We have cooking classes, craft classes, how to curl your hair, all very age appropriate and, safe and easy. So it's a great little community, and it's just really fun. It's a lot of fun. And there's some amazing girls that we've gotten to meet, and we just feel so lucky.
From all over the country. And the way it works is a girl can choose a membership level. And with that membership, she gets her personal login, which is super safe. It doesn't, all our videos just stop at our videos. It doesn't suggest other videos to watch on YouTube or anything like that. It's our own safe platform. So there's you get the weekly episodes that touch on a lot of the stuff we talked about today, the planting the seeds, the really important, the big rocks in your garden. Those are the big things in life that parents are trying to tell their kids about, but they might not listen. We're trying to tell them too. And hopefully they'll listen, because we get pretty funny. Then there's the community part where it's called How's It Growing Monthly. We gather as the community. It's optional. They can come and we talk about a topic, and they share from all over the country. It's so sweet. These girls are amazing, but they get to see other girls and talk and interact and realize, oh, they're going through the same, they're just like me, and it really just makes them feel good about themselves, and they offer like, they get to share, and it just helps each other. And then there's the Bloom videos, what Becky was mentioning about all the fun things that are new in this age, hair, makeup, skin, you know, even friendship, even changing bodies and periods. We have nice little episodes, like little short videos about that, what to expect. And it's not weird. Every girl has to deal with it, and just really taking the load off. So it's just kind of an all-encompassing little program, a little safe place that these girls can gather, can contemplate life, and hopefully like take their little nuggets and go grow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. Well, I'm so happy that I got to talk with you today. I just want to thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, for coming on the podcast. One last question before we wrap up. Since it's morning Hava, I'd like to ask how you take your morning Java if you drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee, but I love hot chocolate.
I was gonna say, I drink hot chocolate.
I do. I have my own recipe for hot chocolate, and it's
And it's
Oh,
so good.
That is, I
It
have that.
so
It's
good. And I just keep a little stash in my fridge. You just dollop it in. It's basically chocolate and whipped cream together, and you add it to hot milk. And so that is my, like, I love it. I love it. It's a cup of happy. It just makes me happy.
Yes. I usually have my greens in the morning, so I'm not, but I do love my hot chocolate at night. So
I know we're no fun over here. No Java for us.
yeah.
But okay, so here's mine. Mine is usually a blueberry lemonade pre-workout with my BCAAs and all my things I need to like get my body going. That's my morning routine. 5:30, just a quick little something, and then I'm off running, and that's where I start.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. No coffee drinkers here. Interesting.
No.
I go in and out of coffee. So I like to have a warm beverage in the morning that doesn't always have to be coffee. But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again so much. I'm going to have all the links in the show notes so people will know how to connect with you and find you and follow you. And I just want to thank you again so much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes, good luck. Best wishes.
Thank you.